Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first BoBCast Podcast. My name is Nick. We'll be kind of your host for this kind of thing. This will be our first episode. It'll be a weekly show all about gaming, technology, tech news, all that kind of stuff. But with me, I have Sean. You can see his webcam on there now. We also have Tom as well. If you want to say hello, Tom, so your picture will at least show up at some point.
Hello.
Oh, that's a screen capture there. But good deal. So welcome to the podcast. We'll kind of start it off with kind of like a little introduction thing about ourselves. Again, my name is Nick. I've been kind of building computers. My first computer kind of came in 2011. That was kind of when I entered the PC world. It actually came in as a pre-built. It was a CyberPower PC computer. Over the years, I've upgraded it. We've now been 3 years. I'm still running the same 2600 processor on there, the Intel, the Sandy Bridge. I have upgraded. I was originally with a 560 Ti. I've upgraded to a 670. I'm now SLIing GTX 670. So that's kind of a fun thing, but that's something I've always loved to do. I'm actually a meteorology major. That's my major in college right now. And so my life has kind of been devoted to the whole weather world and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to go to Tom, kind of introduce yourself to the lovely people.
All right, I'm Tom, occasionally going by the screen name JC Guy, if you
matters. Subs?
I am one of the 30 people who subbed there. Let's see, I got back into computing senior year of high school. That was my graduation present. Built my own computer for the first time. Since then, it has gone through many iterations, almost too many to count.
Not many.
As it is, yeah, I'm on my fourth case right now. I'm pretty sure the only original parts left in this PC are the processor, the 2600K, and that's actually it, I think. So pretty much everything, and the original hard drive that I have in there.
Most of your parts are running kind of on other people's machines, I think. I think everything you had is still running in some shape or another.
Yeah, basically every part I have eventually goes to either someone else's machine or to a secondary machine of my own.
It's a real ship of Theseus situation.
Yeah, So, going along with the numerous computers I have, I am a computer science major. I've pretty much always been in computer science, writing code, all that good stuff. All the way back on the PlayStation Portable, where I got my start.
Nice.
And, yeah, the rest is history.
Nice. All right, next we kind of move to Sean. Sean, you actually just entered the wonderful PC world. You actually just finished your computer, a few days ago, I believe, right?
Monday, after much trial and hardship. Well, I've been trying to get in on this for a long time, but it's been a series of I was actually almost exactly a year ago, I was about to buy my PC, and then I got offered a $2,000 trip to Japan. So I took that.
Yeah, you can't pass that up.
But it set me back a year. But I got another scholarship, so I just finished building this on Monday. Finally put things together. My motherboard came in fried, so I had to send it back and wait another 2 weeks, which was pretty torturous, since I spent 3 hours putting it together and then plugged it in and it wouldn't post.
Dude, make sure you post a 1-egg review on Newegg, letting everyone know that it's a shit maker.
Well, I just emailed MSI today because I had to pay to ship the motherboard to them. For their
that is actually kind of bullshit.
And then they were like, yeah, we don't reimburse shipping.
How much was shipping? Did you say?
I paid $40.
That's insane.
I could have paid $12, but that was a week and a half to get to California, so I would have been waiting another week. And I was just impatient. And I was hoping they reimbursed me. They didn't. Whatever. I should have been smart enough to know that they wouldn't have.
Sorry.
And then so I'm trying to. I don't have the specs of my PC memorized, so I just pulled them up. I mean, I've got an i5 in there, and I've got my card is a. I have the R9280, I think. R9280. Is that a thing? Yeah, I think it's
You're the Haswell Intel, correct?
Hmm?
Are you the new Haswells? Like the new Intel Haswell? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. I think you are, because I think you're the only one that's running Haswell out of the group then. Because Tom and I are both Sandy Bridge. Mark and the Shannon, I think both people, they're both Ivy Bridge.
Yes. Ryan definitely is.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Connor, he's a Sandy Bridge. He was the 2700
Sandy. Sean, if you buy your PS or your CPU in the the most recent iteration, it's gonna be Haswell.
Okay. What's the distinction? Is it just the?
It's the stepping. So Intel, actually, I can go in a little bit. Intel basically operates on a tick-tock cycle is what they call it. So every other year they do a new revision of their CPU, and one year they shrink the transistor size, and then the other year they actually redo the architecture. And so I don't remember which iteration Haswell is. Yeah, I don't know if it's the tick of the talk, but I think
it's probably the talk.
It's the shrinking of the transistors, because Ivy was just Ivy was the shrink.
Yeah.
And then Haswell has to be a new architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is that they make an architecture and then they shrink it down to the new generation. And then they make a new architecture and then repeat.
So the new upcoming tick then would be, is that Broadwell? Or would that be the new talk?
Broadwell, yes.
Okay. And that's coming, do we know? Do we have a release date on that yet? 'Cause what are the CPUs that are coming from Intel this fall? Because I know there's a new generation, or not new generation, but
It should be Broadwell.
Okay, so it's Broadwell, okay.
Late 2014, if Wikipedia is to be trusted.
Because Haswell was kind of a letdown in terms of the desktop world, because Haswell, they wasn't too much in terms of a performance boost, but for the mobile side, they had really good integrated graphics. Like the integrated graphics, the HD, like 4600, I believe, is on some of the newer ones. Like it competes with kind of like, I don't know, 3 or 4 generations ago, like NVIDIA cards, like not 3 or 4, probably like 2 or 3. So like I think the 4600 with the Intel really competes with like the 560 Ti, which is actually my first graphics cards. I mean, it's fairly powerful. They're also a lot less power consuming.
Every time they shrink it, you can fit more stuff on there. So
it runs hotter though. That was one of the problems with the desktop world. Because people wanted to overclock it, it ran just so hot compared to the older ones.
Well, that's why Devil's Canyon is such a great thing, because they replaced the thermal interface material between the actual die and the heat spreader, which was a huge complaint. And so on the last generation Haswells, Sean, keep note, you could actually take the heat spreader off and then scrape off the material yourself and replace it. And if you screw up, you've only cost yourself like $300 chip. But these enthusiasts. Well, yeah, I mean these enthusiasts on these forums, they went for it. But now Intel's finally stepped up their game. They replaced the material, and so now I've heard that Devil's Canyon is much more overclocker friendly.
Yeah, and it also runs. It's a significant kind of performance boost too, because the core clock is at 4 gigahertz, which makes it the first Intel processor to hit the 4 gigahertz as a base clock, and the turbo is 4.4. It's still running the 22 nanometer lithography, but these were released fairly recently, and that was kind of came to I don't know if it was really a surprise, but I really didn't see this coming. I don't know if this was rumored or anything, but I felt like this kind of came like, oh, hey, sweet new processor.
Yeah. Well, Intel's kind of they just sort of dropped these incremental upgrades, because like we talked about this tick-tock cycle, but then they just sort of do these small iterations like Devil's Canyon, where it's not exactly Haswell E, but it's still some type of improvement. So they kind of surprise you every once in a while.
I can't complain about that. All right, so we'll kind of just a little quick preview for today's our first BoBCast podcast. First of all, we'll be touching on some of the things in the gaming world. Battlefield Hardline has been delayed till 2015. The Sims 2 is now free to purchase. In terms of the hardware world, we have NVIDIA 800 series rumors are bouncing again once all over the place. Also, NVIDIA released a new tablet device, kind of a letdown, I would say so myself. Not something I was really interested in. Can't find too many people actually interested in it. Mobile, the next big thing in USB flash drives is really starting to take root. That is kind of a mobile SSD you can plug into a USB 3.0. ESPN is now streaming esports, at least one right now. It's Dota 2, the championships. The crowd-funded prize pool of over $5 million for the winning team is kind of a really big deal, at least. It's kind of showing the popularity and the growing emergence of the esports world. Finally, we also are going to touch on the Google world, as Google becoming too infringing with things like Street View, things like Google Earth and satellite. This actually came out recently. South Korea is starting to notice that a lot of their military bases can be seen in high resolution using Google Earth, so they're starting to be concerned that people are kind of checking that out. But before we touch on any of that, let's roll our fancy new intro. Again, thanks for watching. You're watching the BoBCast.
real question is when we start throwing in the ads
Sponsor us.
and then spawn.
Start my take.
All right, again, everybody, welcome back to the BoBCast Podcast. We're going to kind of touch on our first topic today, which is Battlefield Hardline pushed back until 2015. There were some recent, decent interest, I would say, in the Battlefield Hardline, but a lot of people are kind of complaining that it's very much like the Battlefield 4. So a lot of people are saying it should really just be DLC. But Battlefield Hardline was scheduled to release October 21st. This is, of course, off PC Gamer. They found it off the blog, from the Battlefield blog. It's now been pushed back till early 2015. The quote is to improve and focus on multiplayer innovation, whatever it is that means. So we played Hardline quite a bit, actually. I did really do... I did enjoy Hardline, but the problem for me, it did not feel like it was a $60 title at launch. So Tom, I know you played Hardline kind of a bit. What do you think of Hardline?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a very... I had a lot of fun with it. I did really enjoy... I think where Battlefield has always shined for me, even going back to Bad Company 1,
Dude, I need
where I
some
first
mad
got
help right now.
introduced to the series, was in the urban... more urban combat. I mean, I know vehicles always play a huge role in it, but I like the kind of tightness of a city, of, being kind of close quarters with people. A lot of verticality is especially something that I've noticed with Battlefield titles. And so Hardline was delivering on all those fronts, but the fact that, you have these cops and robbers scenarios going down with rocket launchers and parachutes and helicopters with missiles on them, I mean, that alone already was basically just like, this is just another Battlefield military game just set in a city with different game modes. And so I guess that feeling kind of prevailed my thought process. So even though I had fun, it's like, well, I've also got Battlefield 4 that's already kind of given me things. It's essentially a map pack to me with a couple new game modes, and not something I would necessarily pay another $60 for.
And right now we're showing some of the Hardline footage that we were recording during the open, was it alpha or beta that was available?
I believe there was an open beta.
Open beta,
that I should
right.
say up in the upper left.
And actually, the footage you're watching is from one of the new game modes called Blood Money. You have to go steal money from the opposing team, get it back, or if you're the police, you have to kind of just recover the money, I believe. So it's kind of, like I said, it was a good time. I did enjoy it, but as he said, it was not worth it. Do you feel the game Battlefield Hardline was a little bit too arcadey? Do you think it kind of took back from what makes Battlefield in terms of the big war scenes?
I mean, not necessarily. I think it's really just felt a lot like Battlefield has felt. I like that they implemented the not perk system necessarily, but sort of like Medal of Honor, which, for those who don't remember or don't know, DICE also had a hand in doing the multiplayer for the 2010 release, I think that was, where basically, as you do more things, you get more points, and then you get not perks, but kind of like buffs to your stats, so you can get things that will let you take a little more damage, will prevent you from taking as much grenade damage, will let you run a little faster, things like that. And I like that style. In Medal of Honor, I liked it a lot better because you could pick an offensive or a defensive thing. So, you could help your team or you could help yourself, kind of encourage some team play in some aspects of it. So, I mean, it's really just a setting at this point. It's, in terms of arcadey, it's the way that all multiplayer shooters are headed this day. Now it's just switching the settings, switching up a few things in the game mode, but really it all boils down to the same core concept.
So basically, bottom line, you would not pay $60 for this?
I wouldn't pay $60, but maybe if it goes on sale, I don't know. Or
Did
maybe
you guys have issues with Battlefield 4 with the with the glitches and stuff?
So many people were always complaining about the issues. I
heard a lot about that.
I really never had an issue with Battlefield 4. I know Mark did. A lot of times he would always be crashing out of the game. There are a lot of the simple things like I thought I'd be behind cover, but I'd be shots. The net coding was kind of rough, but I really didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes these things like little glitches get blown out of proportion, but I knew some people had sworn off a Hardline simply based on how poor their experience was with Battlefield 4.
Yeah, if you actually, I've got this little screen cap from when we tried to play that one time. And as you can see down on the bottom here, Origin couldn't get the code, and I shouldn't get this error. Well, fuck me, I guess.
Wait, where? Oh, yeah.
Down on the bottom. Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is the kind of shit, though. You know, you would try and play, it would crash. I guess the thing is, I feel like if it wasn't so similar to Battlefield 3, I would be okay. If it was like a huge iteration, then sure, but it's using Battlelog, it's using basically the same engine. They couldn't have tweaked it that much in the, year and a half that they had. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that they had was already in place, and there really wasn't an excuse to have as many glitches as they did. And so I guess, I played it for like a couple weeks, then I stopped playing it for a couple months, and now we're just now getting back into it, so most of the stuff's been resolved.
Because I know you guys you guys just purchased Premium, something that I would say I'd never buy, but now that Hardline's been pushed back, I almost wonder if it's almost a ploy to get people to buy Premium.
To get Premium.
I mean, I wasn't going to buy it because Hardline was coming out. I'm like, I wouldn't get it at launch, but I know Black Friday is when I bought Battlefield 4, and it was like half off. So I was kind of hoping a similar situation with Hardline. But yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of raises the general question of would you ever pay $100+ for a game, knowing that it would last you, a year, 2 years.
With Premium, if you don't pay for it again, do you still get the map packs? Do you have any idea?
Between Battlefield 3 and 4, or what?
4. If you kept playing Battlefield 4, is Premium like a one-time buy, or is it a subscription?
One time per game.
It is.
Like my Battlefield 3 Premium didn't carry over to 4, and presumably won't carry over to Hardline.
Okay, that's fair.
So yeah, I mean, but this is the same discussion people were having all the way back in when they were talking about COD and Modern Warfare, when there were those rumors that they were going to start charging subscription fees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about how many hours you've put into Battlefield. I mean, I've got in 3 100+, in 4 50+. To pay $100, if I get to 100 hours, I don't know that's necessarily that big of a waste of my money.
Yeah, like
especially
I try
if
and
we
go
all
for
play it.
Or shoot for like $1 an hour is kind of what I aim for. All right, so kind of moving on, continuing with EA. This is actually the good EA. I don't know if it's really necessarily all that good, but Sims 2 is now free for everyone on Origin. I haven't played any of the Sims games in SimCity, but another Origin giveaway, essentially. It's not really so much a giveaway as it is a, here you go, like, we're not supporting anymore, so might as well just give it away.
Sims is one of those games that, like, weirdly many people have played. Like, people, like, you'll meet, like, some girl, like, oh my god, I love The Sims. And,
That's
like,
my sister, basically.
Yeah, like, those people, like, exist, and I don't know. I mean, like, it's interesting, but yeah, it's just definitely kind of like, yeah, fuck it, take it.
Well, see, the thing is, I think Sims 2 is one of those things like Train Simulator, where it's like, you can get the base game for cheap, but then all the add-ons, they start piling up,
No, it's actually, you get all of the DLC, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're giving everything away. So it's a free-for-all. And if you were interested in getting everything, this is off the EA website. If you go to your Origin, you have to use Origin, I'm sorry, but you have to use Origin to get it, and it's code I-love-the-sims. And you enter that in Origin, and boom, it's all yours. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But I mean, there's so much controversy right now with the new Sims game coming out, Sims 4, I believe it's coming out, and how they're just not releasing a ton of things with it that have been, like, always in every Sims game, but I don't really have enough knowledge on that. All I know is, like, pools and babies they're leaving out.
So actually, I was reading an article about this the other day. They are adding some things like multitasking, which I know a lot of people have kind of wanted. I think they're adding more ranges of emotion on them. I think they're just kind of making it so they can do more, feel more, kind of expanding the whole just Sims experience, I guess if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, like Sean said, it's one of those games where a ton of people play it, but not exactly my thing, but I could see where people enjoy it.
Because I've always been a SimCity person. Like, I love SimCity. The newest SimCity was a complete letdown. Fuck you, EA. But, I mean, I got refunded for it, and I still have it, but whatever. But yeah, Sims 4, the other thing they're talking about was that there might be Sims 4 Premium. So you pay for that, and you get all the DLC that way. So, I don't know. It's better than microtransactions, I suppose. And all of
Yeah,
that.
at least up front. I mean, this is kind of the way that games are operated now. You get a season pass, and then all the DLC that you inevitably know is going to come for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Get for free. Well, you pay for it up front. So,
which is both like it's kind of nice because you get everything, you don't have to worry about paying for it later. But if it's like a really crappy update, that's like, well, what's the point? Like, why did I spend money on this? I mean, that's
you really
one
have to
thing
put
with
your
Battlefield, because I mean, I trust DICE.
That's
and
the thing. Yeah,
I haven't
you
had
have to
problems
trust
with
it.
DICE.
Well, the thing is, like, most of what you get with Battlefield Premium is new maps, and for me, Battlefield has always survived on the strength of its maps. So, to pay $50 knowing I'm going to probably get some quality maps now, then they do things like remaster Bad Company 2 maps and release them, and then it's like, well, all right, I already played these and own them. But for the most part, it's not a bad investment if you know what you're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, moving on, continuing with the PC gaming theme, the PS3 emulator, RPC S3. So a bunch of people are starting to contribute to it, and we're now hitting 15 frames per second with pretty decent hardware, which sounds pretty crappy for your normal game, but considering you're emulating a other console, it's kind of awesome. I don't really know anything about emulating or coding, so I'm going to let Sean and Tom discuss this one. So anyone can take it.
So how about those programs, Tom, huh?
all right, well, I'll jump on this. So, I mean, here's the thing. So you got a couple of different types of emulation, and really quickly, when you're running like a virtual machine on your computer, a lot of the time what that's doing is just the program running in the virtual machine makes some type of system call, and then it gets interpreted by the virtual machine and run on your actual CPU. The reason that things like any emulator really for the NES all the way up to the PS3 are so slow is because rather than just interpreting program instructions, they're actually creating a whole virtual CPU, RAM, hard disk. It has to actually create all of the system components. So it's basically a CPU making a CPU that then runs another program on top of that. So it's going to be slow unless you have basically top-of-the-line hardware, or at least until they work, get the code running a little bit better. But still, the fact that you can even run at 15 frames a second something through all these levels of abstraction is still pretty great. And really, it's only going to get better from here as they work out the code, and as we get faster machines and stuff. So it's interesting. I don't know how far it'll go. I don't know where they are. I know an Xbox 360 emulator exists, but I don't know how far they are on that or the Xbox. But I've always enjoyed emulators. My PS2 emulator has kept me warm many a night.
What's like the game market like for this? Are all of them pirated, or can you like is there any way to legally purchase games for this?
Legally, well, so it's kind of a gray area, but from what my understanding has always been, you can legally copy your own games onto your computer and play them with an emulator as long as you own the original copy. So now with things like the NES, that requires a special chip to like actually rip the ROM off of the cartridge and stuff. So a lot of people just pirate those, but also there's not a huge market for game systems that came out 15 years ago, or even shit longer than that. But for the purposes of this, basically you would have to pull off an ISO rip it off of a Blu-ray disc and then run it through this emulator. So it's, I think, legal as long as you own it and don't distribute it. That's the other thing. As long as you don't distribute it or charge people to play on your computer, then you're not really breaking any laws.
And that's why everything is kind of open source right now, so everyone can...
Well, my next question for you is, how do they go about reverse engineering the PS3 OS to replicate it like this?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty complicated. I mean, again, like I said, they have to emulate the entire machine, so it's even more than that. They have to reverse engineer the hardware itself, which one of the big issues that devs had last generation was that the PS3 had the cell processor, which was unlike any architecture that they'd really encountered. So very few devs actually fully used the power that it offered, even though it could offer quite a bit. Now, luckily, the PS3 scene has been pretty active in terms of hacking, people getting behind the code, getting behind the hardware, all the way back to when they still had the other OS feature where you could install a Linux distribution on it, which then people, pretty quickly found out how to jailbreak their PS3s and get around things. So then they removed that feature, but it didn't take long before people hacked it and started getting root access and stuff. So the scene's been pretty active for a while now. People have a pretty good understanding of the hardware. They've dug through the code and stuff, so now it's really just a matter of getting the software rather, is what they've dug through. So now it's just a matter of getting the hardware down and really understanding that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, more to the hardware side of things, both the gaming side. NVIDIA is kind of big news. NVIDIA, we all know the 800 series was coming at some point. Again, this is all rumor-based. There's no confirmation from either party right now. But the latest rumor mill is that the GTX 870 and 880 are coming in October or November. This comes from Kit Guru. These are all going to be running on the newest technology, the 28-nanometer chip that'll be inside the graphics units. So that's kind of something that a lot of people have been looking forward to. One thing I've noticed, want to point out, is that depending on when this comes out, this could be really good for computer builders that are striving to get either new hardware or their first hardware, because not necessarily the 800 series, but you're looking at the date around Black Friday. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you might be looking at the older generations, the 700, 600 series. Those might go pretty good discount for that. And to add on to the release date, we also had a supposed leak of the hardware, a benchmark of it. This is using a synthetic benchmarking program called 3DMark. It basically runs a bunch of tests, and it gives you a score. In this case, it came out with 6,110. To give you an idea, the current 780 score is around 4,500, with the 780 Ti around 5,000. So performance-wise, that's like a 35 to 40% increase in power over the older generation. And everyone's don't know about price. There were rumors about a month ago saying that the price will actually be cheaper than the 700 series, which I don't have a hard time believing. It'll probably be around the same price. But so 800 series, Tom, you're the one that I would assume would get the newest hardware the most recent time. What do you think about the 800 series right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really looking to upgrade my GPU anytime soon, but of course I say that, and then it just kind of happens, But I think it's good. NVIDIA's really picking up their pace. It used to be, I feel like it just went a lot slower, but they've really been dropping a new generation every year now, feels like, between mobile, and current desktop type systems. So it's good. It's good to have innovation. It's good to move it forward. All they're really doing is just cramming more cores. It's the standard upgrade procedure now for various integrated circuit manufacturers. You just put more stuff on. But I actually had a question for Sean, because you went with AMD, so I was wondering, was it just price motivation, or was there some other reason that you actually wanted to do it?
A combination of price and lack of knowledge or willingness to do much research. I mean, I started my build with the PC part picker, not the PC part picker, the KB mod build guide
Right.
and like extrapolated a couple things where I had more wiggle room with some stuff, and this was one of them. And this actually, like, the card that I got actually came out just a couple months ago, and all the reviews were really solid, so I went with it. And I haven't obviously been putting it through too much since I just put it on Monday, but I'm pretty satisfied with it thus far.
The joys of benchmarking, man, are one of the many reasons you become a PC master race.
Well, I think I'll just move on to be. Have you ever seen those? Not to derail this too far, but you ever see those like extreme overclock people? Like they don't even like do stuff. They just like want to see how hot they can make it, so they just dunk graphics cards in liquid nitrogen and run.
Yeah, no, my one of my professors told me that that we could get our hands on liquid nitrogen just to see how far we could overclock one of my CPUs. I was like, yeah, you actually need like a $600 containment vessel for that, so I'm gonna not take you up on that offer.
Get like a bucket. Just get some plastic buckets.
Just get a bucket.
I've dipped shit in a bucket of liquid nitrogen before, like aluminum canisters.
Well,
my PI came in like, don't do that again. You could already do it yourself.
The thing is, what spurred that was someone basically did that. They just dipped an Arduino in a bucket of liquid nitrogen and got it up to like 60 megahertz or something, and this is a chip that normally runs at like 3 or something ridiculous.
I didn't even know you could overclock those. I mean, I kind of
well, you're not supposed to be able to. But yeah, so then just as a really quick other footnote, so Sean, in addition to just, I guess, price and whatever, and I mean, it is a solid chip, but did you take into account at all the fact that Linux drivers traditionally have better support with AMD versus NVIDIA?
I didn't, but that's fantastic news because I'm really excited about the Linux gaming scene, and I'm really hoping to get. That's why I didn't get a chance to finish my plug earlier, but this build has 2 hard drives, and I've got Ubuntu on the second, and I'm really hoping to do some gaming on that one. I'm really excited about prospects there.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Ubuntu is the Linux distribution that Steam has kind of thrown their weight behind.
Yeah.
The current Linux Steam client is basically targeted at Ubuntu, and that's what they test on. That's what they assure you. This is what you can run our client on and most games on. So.
And if you've never run a Linux distribution, it's definitely, and you've looked for something to do, especially Ubuntu is pretty idiot-proof, and I honestly get, even just in my like day-to-day use, I get far better performance out of my Linux machine than my Windows machine.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Definitely something to look into.
Yeah, I want to get into Linux, but it's just not something.
You don't want to grow a beard?
Yeah.
There's a whole lifestyle. It's a whole lifestyle.
Yeah. Basically, if the prospect of spending an entire afternoon getting a video codec to work doesn't sound appealing to you, you might want to second guess it. But,
I mean, I've had to use it for little things here and there, like for my research, and it's just like being punched in the face every 10 seconds, having to like do things. And...
Well, the thing that always interests me about it, which it's just because it's open source, which is charming, but like things that don't work on Linux, people just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a thing. But like if they would work on Windows, like everybody would be on the internet like bitching about it. You have a lot higher tolerance for like I have something like I minimize Windows, so sometimes like there are outlines still on my screen, and like
and you're like, oh, that just happens.
That just happens sometimes, and you just kind of roll with it. But if it happened on Windows, like I'd be on the forums like Bill Gates is an asshole. Fucking get off the area and fix my fucking computer.
The idea is that this is a billion-dollar company that's making a product for you, whereas Linux is, like we said, a bunch of bearded dudes in their rooms kind of coding up an entire OS. So
yeah, I imagine that's too far off topic to go into the ins and outs of open source.
We'll do that. We'll make sure we cover that at some point then.
That's for another podcast.
Write it down, save it. Kind of actually a good segue going into it was what everyone thought was gonna be the competitor to the Steam Box was the next big thing from NVIDIA, which turned out to be the Shield tablet, which is a gaming tablet that I can't see a lot of people really caring about.
Gaming tablet seems like a little bit of an oxymoron.
I don't know how to turn the audio off, but it should be audio. Here's from the official website, it's a demo. Not really even a demo. So look at our fancy graphics that we made with our graphics guys. It's running by the K1 chip.
So So,
it is a
yeah.
1080p screen, actually 1920 by 1200, so I guess that'd be.
I just imagine
1200.
people like taking it out and setting it across from them on the subway, and then taking out the controller and then sitting and playing it.
Like it's so dumb to me because like it's like portability, but like you have this looks like a tiny little stand on there. I don't know if kind of like rotate any of
Well,
these.
all right. Let
Like, look
me
at
let me
this thing.
defend it here.
Okay, go for
Let-
it. Try
let
win this
Devil's
over me.
advocate.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second here. All right. So now, first off, let me start by saying that it's almost indisputable that mobile is the largest growing gaming
Yeah.
segment right now.
That's very true.
I mean,
Gaming in quotes.
well, yes, granted, it's entertainment programs are being run on smartphones and other mobile devices, and it's booming right now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better, as we improve our hardware. The Tegra chips are amazing. Honestly, NVIDIA is doing so much for the whole system on a chip market. That's its own thing, but they know what they're doing, and they've proven with the Shield, at least, that you can have a sort of hardcore experience on a small device. I mean, their solution for the Shield is you run the actual game on your desktop, and then you stream it to your Shield, or in this case, your tablet, and you still get the graphic fidelity that you would on a desktop, just in a smaller package. And so, I mean, I don't think it's, like you said, I don't know that you're going to see people running up into a subway, putting it down, trying a game, but I could see a use case where, you take it with you, it's in, you're in the subway, you're reading articles on it, because presumably it's still a tablet first, and so you can get apps. It's running Android. You can get your, various news feeds. You can read an ebook, whatever. You get to the office on your lunch hour. You fire it up. You play some games. I mean, I'm not saying it's for everyone. Obviously, it's a very steep entry fee for something that you probably won't use everywhere. But I mean, I can see where they're headed, and I think honestly, it's going to just keep going this direction as we get more powerful hardware in mobile packages.
I mean, can you really? I just have a real hard time. I mean, I'm sure people said this about a lot of things in the past, and here we are. But I mean, gaming on a tablet with a controller, it just doesn't sound comfortable to me. Because like the way you're gonna have to like set this up like on a desk, it's like, well, for $500, I might as well just buy a computer that can run things probably better. And
Well,
I don't know.
this is for the man who has everything already.
This is true.
This is for the bandwagon jumpers.
Well,
Yeah.
But once, let's say it does become cheap enough, and you can have this tablet for the same price as you could have an Android tablet now, say $140 around there.
Yeah.
Would you, if you were given the choice between having a tablet that didn't have integrated gaming focus and one like this that did, I mean, would you honestly say that this wouldn't be on your radar?
I mean, if they can cut this price down to I don't even know if it's possible, the $300 range, then it becomes a lot more competitive. Because not only for, like you said, the gaming, but hardware-wise, I mean, it's a real powerful tablet.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
So,
a
I mean, it
powerhouse.
can do a lot, I would imagine. Especially with, like, I mean, with the Tegra, was it the K1, the mobile processor. I mean, people are using that all over the place now for research. And, I mean, the things you probably do with this in terms of, like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like a hospital, for example, like, show some type of, like, broken bone or something, kind of like show them like a simulation, some type of like 3D model or something, or being able to show like MRIs or something like on this. Like I feel like it does have ability to be something important, but for $500 in the consumer market is just not the right idea.
Well, I think that I think that there's I'd like to see a big change in the mobile gaming market in the next couple of years, because there's still there's the like smartphone games, which are obviously like $2-3. Like there's a couple ones that have a little bit more depth to them, but for the most part, they're still pretty like play them for 15 minutes and go.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
like mobile gaming 5 years ago even was like the your Game Boy Advances, your PSPs, etc. Those are kind of falling out. Like I don't know anybody. The majority of people I know who have 3DSs bought it to play Pokemon. But the thing
Right.
is, I would happily have paid $60 to play Pokemon on my smartphone. And I think that something like this would be super cool if like that sort of gameplay, like that sort of gaming experience could be brought out. But I would be like right now I can't. There's not doesn't like all the things are advertising in this are just console ports.
Yeah.
Like if I could like get some interesting new software on there.
I mean, I think what they're doing is like is what they're doing with the Shield, where you basically it's a desktop game and then you're just streaming it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
to
can
your tablet.
stream, but then like okay, yeah.
Because I mean, they're showing on like the demo, like you got War Thunder on here. They were showing Titanfall. So, I mean, it says on the bottom if I go all the way down. I mean, Half-Life 2. I don't know why that's like the big thing they're featuring.
That's the fucking.
You can run Half-Life on a toaster, man.
that's kind of what I was going for, but I mean, it allows you. I mean,
You a lot of
can also stream and everything with it, which is kind of neat. I don't know. I mean,
also like I hate to see it because it seems like an impressive piece of tech, but it seems like there's not anything for it, you know.
I mean, even like the NVIDIA Shield handheld device they had, like I mean, I don't have any numbers on it in terms of sold, but I feel like that was kind of a decent flop because I don't know anybody who even thought about getting it. I mean, again, I'm sure there are people out there who, like you said, have everything. You might as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a niche market. Although, like Sean said, I think the gaming handheld as we know it is pretty much dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say as Nintendo consistently sells more things than basically anyone.
Yeah, they managed to turn the 3DS around. I don't know how they managed to.
I mean, they've been able to turn the Wii U around pretty significantly too. Recent, I mean, they rocked E3. Like, I'm not a Nintendo person at all, but they by far destroyed everyone else at E3 with everything. I mean, even like the new Zelda was fantastic looking. I don't even care about it.
Nintendo's actually the one company still focused on gaming. Like they're like, hey, look at these games that we have coming out. Look at these games we've made. Whereas more so the E3 before this, you know, Microsoft was all, look at this TV that runs on your game console, and PS3 is like, you can hang out with your friends and share things on Twitch and share things across social media. And it's like, well, that's great, but like, you're a game company first and foremost. So Nintendo really just capitalizing on that. It's obviously served them well.
For sure. I would say they're doing quite well. I mean, this E3 in general is pretty decent, I would say, but that's kind of another story for another day. Alright. Anything else? Any final points? I mean, one thing I did want to say, is it Candy Crush that's getting their IPO? Is that a thing that's actually happening?
Whoever makes King Software is possibly... I mean, I know they make a bunch of other things. But yeah, I mean, these days you can make a relatively simple game, and even if people, like Sean said, only play it for 15 minutes at a time, or even 15 minutes and then never again, if you're selling them at $1 a pop, hell, you know, you're still making...
Also, these Candy Crush people, I mean, like, they're bastards, and I hate what they're doing to the industry, but they're brilliant. Like, they're just churning out these, like, slightly different puzzle games.
Yeah.
And, like, you play Candy Crush, you get bored of Candy Crush, then there's Farm Crush or what have you.
Right.
And everybody's mom has all 4 copies of it. And
yeah. Well, Candy Crush, the people, King, it's King, right?
Yeah, it's King.
Yeah. They're
King
kind of on my shit list because of their IP trolling and how they wanted to, like, trademark the name Candy.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a fucking... That's a thing. Like, you can't... That's just a noun in the dictionary. You can't trademark single words. So, whatever.
Good lord. Alright. Moving on. Kind of also a big deal for the... at least the esports world. ESPN will be streaming the Dota 2 Championship. Granted, not on television, it'll be on ESPN 3, but they are having, I believe, something on ESPN 2. I believe like a pre-show will be on ESPN 2. Not only was this kind of a big deal for the esports market because, like, hey, you know, like, it's starting to be recognized as like a sport, at least to ESPN, but it's also because their championship funds were completely crowdsourced. Article from Polygon has it the 5-man team will win $5,008,128, which comes out to $1,001,625.60 a person, which is like ridiculous. That's
And
completely crowd-funded.
Well, so I heard this earlier today, is that is more money than is offered in the Masters tournament.
Yes. I mean, the
And
title here is will be paid more than Super Bowl World Series winners. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's good, you know. It's a good sign for esports and how far they've come.
Well, and look, we've kind of shown our hand here, like we're following this, but none of us are actually League or Dota
No.
guys. But I had a question, which will be all like, we like animals, like spectators looking into the zoo trying to solve this. But what do you guys think about games like League and Dota has made them just explode in this esports thing?
well, wasn't Dota 2 the free-to-play one?
They're both
They're
free-to-play.
both free to play.
Oh, they both
And they're
free-to-play.
both like people will like scoff when I say this, but they're both almost the same game. They're very, very similar.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
they're the
gonna
same
piss off a
genre,
lot of people.
and
Yeah.
they each have their own.
Yeah,
you know,
there are of course
little things.
differences, but they're very similar styles, and they both like befit themselves to this like
Yeah.
hyper competitive.
So, I mean, I guess here's the thing. Esports has always been kind of a very popular thing amongst its own peers.
Yeah.
You know, Counter-Strike has been kind of the de facto competitive esport for a long time, and that manages to fill entire stadiums. I think they sold out, or maybe that was League of Legends, but I know DreamHack was a month ago or so, and they sold out, an entire stadium on that. They don't have this huge a prize pool, but it's like the scene itself, I think, is very popular, and now it's just coming to light, and everyone is kind of acknowledging it.
Is it?
I guess.
I say, do you think it's ESPN that's trying to take advantage of this market that typically will not care about sports at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart of them too. It's obviously not going away. The year before this, the international was what, like 5-6 million prize pool, and now it's more than double that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just getting bigger every year, and more people are becoming aware of it and watching it.
One thing that
that's
keeps coming to mind with me, though, while I was watching this, which is not necessarily the same trend, but I remember there was about a 2-3 year period where they used to have the Drum Corps International, the marching band championships on ESPN, and they did that for a while, and for a while, like, our people thought, like, this is marching band's going to be a thing, guys. And like it just super wasn't a thing and like didn't work.
Well, the spelling
Yeah.
bee is on ESPN, right? I believe it is.
Well, I mean, they've tried to televise esports before.
But that's like
And-
kind of an that's like a contradiction.
Well, but see, that's the thing. Now that we have things like Twitch, or even with Dota, I have Dota in my Steam library. I can log in, or at least this is for CS:GO, but I assume it's the same for Dota. I mean, it's made by Valve still. I can log into CS:GO, and when there's a competitive tournament going on, I can watch it from within the game. And we have the technology now where we can stream things via, even if it's just a website or within a game. It's more accessible to everyone, really.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And-
I mean, and look at even Twitch right now. According to USA Today, there are 300,000 people that were watching the international on Twitch. It's the fourth leading website in the entire United States in peak internet traffic.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's definitely here to stay in terms of the content being available to people. Whether it's going to stay in the limelight of the popular media, I don't know, but I think it's good. All this doesn't really answer your original question, which is why do you think MOBAs have really taken the world by storm? That I don't know. I think it's just kind of the new thing. For a while it was RTSs with StarCraft and stuff. FPSs have always kind of been there with Counter-Strike. I think it's a fresh experience. They've been around for a while, but now we have some that are really good, and they're good for the same reason that StarCraft or CS:GO, well, not so much that, but where everyone has the game, anyone can play it. Really, it's simple, easy to learn, but difficult to master. So, I have Dota. I can play it today, I couldn't play at the level of these guys, but the fact that I can play the same game they're playing makes it, really open to everyone.
I mean, because streaming has become such a popular thing. So yeah, people just want to be like the streamers, or even try streaming themselves for whatever reason. I could see that.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't realize until I read this again was that they actually ESPN did televise Call of Duty tournament, which is part of the X Games, which I had no idea that was even part of the X Games. So it's got that.
That's probably the least extreme part of the S games.
Yeah.
You might extremely injure yourself with some carpal tunnel or something.
Because I think, also Dota and that, it's also, because I think they also run not huge, like spec-wise, they're not hugely intensive.
No, you can run it on a laptop.
Exactly. So I think, people that are
lol.
trying to get into the PC gaming world, like, this is probably a good entry. One, it's free, and then just because you can play it on modest hardware probably is also a big feature.
True.
Because, the PC gaming market is definitely exploding recently. You had the recent articles. It's like twice the size, I believe, of the hardware sales for PC over console right now. So, yeah. All right. Moving on, two more things. The Corsair Flash Voyager GTX, 128 gigabyte flash drive / mass storage device. Essentially, it's been able to get some of the read-write speeds as solid-state drives, which apparently is something that is in demand, something that a lot of people want, something that is nice to have. However, you are paying a lot of money for this device right now. I believe it's well over $100 for the smaller version, the 128 gigabyte version. In terms of it has performance of 430 megabyte per second write, 350 megabit per second. 350 megabyte per second writing, 430 reading. So that's rather insane. Again, for market share, I don't see it, again, like we've talked about the NVIDIA Shield and other topics so far, I don't see the general public consumer buying this right away. But in terms of even like video makers or whatever, like being able to transfer these real large files back and forth pretty easily, I would imagine that's a good selling point. I don't know, the performance compared to, say, like I don't know if I have one on me, one of like the portable hard drives, the portable USB 3.0 hard drives. I don't know exactly what the performance is over that, but I know it's still more, but I don't know.
Well, two things about this jump out at me right away. First of all, you didn't say it this time, but when we went over this, you said that, and I think what people are kind of pushing with this is it's basically an SSD, but that's how flash memory works.
Yeah,
SSDs are basically giant flash drives. It's really the other way around.
That was my first response to this.
I say the one thing is I believe I haven't been able to find any pictures of the inside of this, but I believe the way this works is that it has the multiple microcontrollers, which is why it's better than your typical flash drive.
The firmware is more elegantly written. And I guess the thing with this, when I first saw this, I kind of thought okay, who the fuck cares? Are you that impatient? But I think, which is something that a lot of people don't realize still in the modern era, is how getting data from A to B is still it's actually one of the biggest problems that people have. So anything to move and write data quickly, the fastest way to get, Google will put a bunch of hard drives in a box and ship it cross country because that's the fastest way to do it, because it's faster than sending it over the internet.
Yeah, my mom works for the Chicago government, and that's how a lot of times they send their files back and forth, is just mailing or walking over just boxes of hard drives from City Hall to the Department of Transportation, Department of Revenue, Department of whatever. And that's how they do it. That are just full laptops of just information.
2 or 3 weeks, I didn't get to finish my bio, but I'm a physics major with a specialization in computational astrophysics, and in 2-3 weeks I'm going to Chile where they have the DES telescopes for a week. And that's actually one of the biggest places that we have this problem, because here in Urbana-Champaign is NCSA, the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, and that's where they're doing the processing of DES data. So we had to get all the data, I did anything about it, they had to get all the data from the mountains in Chile to Urbana-Champaign, and they ran fiber lines like through the ocean or some crap. But there's a lot of speculation that this will be the last like big survey that'll be possible, because the next one is like exponentially bigger. And like data transfers with the era of big data is pretty much just null. Like the data stays where it is collected.
I mean, I guess that's the thing that, as we make newer chips that can process more things, we're also creating huge volumes of stuff. So I think there's a place for this if you need to move things around. But again, it's going to be one of those, not like an enthusiast application. I'm not going to be carrying one around in my keychain. It's going to be for more of a professional thing.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a place for it.
Well, what's I guess another question I got with this, which is, what's the write speed limit for USB 3.0? Would that like be the bottleneck on this?
I think the theoretical write speed like several gigabytes, but nothing goes that fast really.
Because I know, let's see, who was it? I think Linus Tech Tips did a unboxing for this and like a review of it, and he compared it to solid state drives, USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. Let me see if I can find it real quick. If you wanted this, I mean, that, like I said, as you're saying, that's a really good point. The transferring data,
which I don't know. I don't necessarily know, but like it could be like. I don't know what the threshold on USB 3.0 is.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Honestly, though, as a side note, I'm just waiting for USB 4, where they're finally gonna let you put it in whatever fucking way you want. It's taken us 4 generations.
I can't remember, one of my friends I was talking to was like, "What's that thing people talk about where they can't get USB flash drives in?" I was like, "What, you've never had that?" She's like, "I don't know, I just look at it before I put it in." Who the fuck does that?
Yeah, right? I want to just be able to reach over and just like slap it around the front of my computer a bunch until it goes in. I don't need to complicate that process.
Here was a I guess not necessarily a benchmark, but a experiment that Linus Tech Tips did, Linus Media Group did with this device. Compared from USB 2.0 to USB 3.0, the device that we're talking about, the Corsair GTX, and then the generic solid-state drive. This is in time, so less time is better, obviously. 5.8 gigabyte file. So, I mean, it really compares decently well with the USB 3.0. So, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's USB 3.0 we're talking about, again, the portable hard drives you can plug into computers. I mean, it's not a hugely significant difference between USB 3.0 and this device. So it very well could be, that might be some of the bottleneck, might be the USB 3.0.
Yeah, actually, so I've got this on, again, Wikipedia. They're talking about 3.2 gigabit throughput, which is about 400 megabytes per second in practice. So, yeah, they're probably brushing up against it.
Okay.
But
that's not bad.
It's still, it's still good. Still good throughput.
The future is bright.
Future's now, Nick.
Yeah, 2014. Side note, we won't go into it, but if you ever get a minute to look out SSDs work, like the physics of it, they're fucking crazy. They basically just like quantum tunnel electrons into places and store them as bits.
Hey, you can talk about that if you want at some point.
I don't know that enough to I didn't do my review.
I don't know enough about that.
I'll just end up saying something that's like not true. But
I'm saying like down the road if you wanted.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll definitely go into it because they're really elegantly designed.
Oh yeah.
Very cool. All right. Final topic. We have kind of more of an interesting news story that's happening. Google Earth, as everyone already knows, has existed. Apparently, the South Korean military is just starting to realize that, hey, all of our military bases can be seen on Google Earth. So they're asking the United States, ask Google to not allow this to happen. The quote from, let's see what we got here, from the military, South Korean military is, quote, "We're frustrated that no laws in the U.S. prohibit such sharing of classified information. We'll make sure the site is indeed labeled CP Tango, in which case we'll look for ways to solve this serious situation." And just to show you, I was able to bring it up here on Google Earth. Here's the military base in question. And they really just don't like how, one, you could see it, you know exactly where it's at, you know all the road networks into it, and you can also see the helipads on there, the parking, storage facilities, entrances, water towers. They mentioned you could see like guard towers too. I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time trying to look into this and find everything, but they claim that this is real high, real sensitive information. But the only debate, specifically they're mentioning this one, but it's kind of as I pan out, I mean, it's real close to a giant, like it's surrounded by giant cities as it is, so I feel like it's not so hard to really get in there anyway.
Dude, you realize if the North Koreans bomb the shit out of this tomorrow, you're going to be to blame. Thanks for starting a war, bud.
Hey, if North Korea can even manage to get a missile to hit something as precise as this, I'd be impressed.
Well, didn't that say, what is that, like 3 miles from Seoul? If you go up?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty...
It's like
right here.
So...
Yeah, they definitely wouldn't be aiming for the military base further away from them.
They just kind of chuck rockets just over the border and hope it lands near something populated. But I mean, even that, like they're claiming like, oh, super high resolution satellite imagery. But I mean, that imagery is older. I mean, if you go to like Chicago right now.
Well, definitely, like I guess my question, whether or not I give a shit, like they should. Think their claim has validity. It depends like what they're concerned about, which I guess I mean the North Koreans, because the North Koreans don't have satellites, but like anybody who is anybody already has way better pictures. Like the U.S. government can see everybody's pores who's currently at that base, but I guess they're concerned about maybe like a terrorist situation or North Korea maybe, but
I think it's probably directed towards
this actually kind of goes back a little earlier this year. I heard about, and I just pulled up a couple articles. The U.S. government okayed some satellite companies to start selling higher resolution pictures and making them available. So basically, before the limit was 50 centimeters. Now they have resolutions up to 41 and 46 centimeters. And this article is saying that they have a new satellite that can go all the way down to 31 centimeter resolution, but that's still under restriction. So, I mean, we have the technology. It's just becoming available now. It's really just a matter of political red tape and what you see. And I mean, the other thing is, if you go on Google Earth and try and look up something like the U.S. Naval Observatory or like, congressmen's houses and stuff, it's sometimes like blurred out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I guess the U.S. kind of provides protection for their own.
I guess that's probably one of the bigger questions here is, like, in the era of globalization, what control does the U.S. government have over a company like Google, which, despite its being based in the United States, it really has influence everywhere. Like, the U.S. government could get them to block probably U.S. stuff, but do they have the jurisdiction to tell them to block Korean stuff, or does Korea have the jurisdiction to tell them?
I mean, I would assume South Korea would have jurisdiction, but they don't actually have jurisdiction.
Well,
I feel like the U.S. can't say, like, hey, don't do this for this foreign country, but I don't know.
I think it kind of harks back to the old Google versus China thing, where China wanted Google to remove certain things from their search, and they didn't. So it's kind of like Google operates with impunity as they see fit. Their servers are based here. Well, they have servers everywhere, but they're headquartered, at least, in the U.S., except then they're headquartered in Ireland to avoid taxes, but that's a different thing. But for the most part, because they're a company here, the U.S. government can tell them to do things, and they kind of have to do it. Whereas South Korea or China telling them to do things, they don't technically have to comply, but...
Well, if Korea was super serious about it, they could, like, do some sort of, like... Nobody's allowed to buy Google products in Korea, but that'd be a fucking disaster.
Well, yeah.
Probably, like, Google's a little bit too big. They could throw their weight around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to talk real quick. The resolution you're talking about for the satellites, you said that was like, what, 40 millimeter or centimeter?
Centimeters.
Okay, so 40 centimeter, that's about 15...
Jesus, dude.
So 15 inches, so that's...
So 31 is about a foot.
Okay.
Like 31 centimeters is about a foot in resolution.
So you could read something that's like a foot big then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of almost terrifying.
I mean, we haven't gotten to the CSI Miami level where it's like, zoom in the satellite image on that guy's license plate. Oh, look at the reflection. He's the killer. But it's definitely well. Okay, and now keep in mind this is a commercial geo-mapping company. This isn't taking into account government satellites, which of course have resolution less than 31 centimeters.
Right.
But
Government satellites can see a grapefruit in your hand.
I'm saying, wouldn't we talked about this in physics class? They could read like the newspaper print, or like we're getting to the point where they could read like the newspaper that someone's reading.
That's what Bro Hayes told us, and I don't question that man. That's what he's talking about.
That's yeah. So kind of on a personal privacy side, like do you ever feel like when you see like the Google Street View car driving around, do you feel like freaked out that anyone could like view you at any point in the world? Not granted, it's not live, but do you feel freaked out that people could see your house, see your car?
I've never been a big privacy nut. I kind of like I was taken aback by like the NSA stuff, of course, but like I don't know. To me, all the Google stuff really operates. Everything that Google does, I've either agreed to allow them to do, or was done. Like Google Street View, all that's in public places. Like this military-based thing is a bit of an exception because it's like it's not really public, but it's visible from public places, I guess, sort of. Not really, but like, and like, well, that's what like semi-related segue, like that thing when Facebook manipulated news feeds and did that study.
Yeah, on
like,
emotions.
And all sorts of people were like, "This is fucking like sucks," and like, I don't know. Well, to me, first of all, number one thing is you agreed to it by using Facebook. If you don't like it, get off Facebook. I thought it was cool, and like, I don't know. I guess that's
I mean, yeah,
like,
I'm into that kind of thing. Like that fascinated me. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like you can just do that to people and mess with their heads.
But like like it's your people don't realize when you're using somebody's free service, like they're getting something out of it.
Basically, if you're not paying for it, you're the product. That's
exactly. That's 100% right. This is like a perfect example of that. Like everyone's just like, why doesn't Facebook allowing me to use this thing without doing anything about it?
Yeah. So let me take off my tinfoil hat here for a second. For starters, if you locate my house on Google Earth, I'm actually they drove by as I was pulling my van into my house, so you can see the entire contents of my garage and my license plate number. So that's pretty bro. But really, I mean, yeah, Sean makes a good point. Like they're not giving us street views into our homes. They're not doing anything that isn't they're not doing anything that someone who's just walking down the street can't already do. So I don't think high-res satellite photos is a bad thing, and it obviously has gone a huge way. I know when I went somewhere like San Francisco, I would have been lost entirely if I didn't have Google Maps just telling me exactly where to go. So obviously the technology is to our benefit, but then there are things like Facebook. It really, with the whole emotion manipulation thing, that one is more like you said. It's like you're on Facebook, you kind of have agreed to let them show you whatever ads they want. So if that means an ad that makes you sad, well, sorry, but that's what you've kind of signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But then there's the whole, this is a different argument, but there's the data retention issue, which I think is kind of a separate thing than like what Facebook shows you versus what Facebook is keeping about you.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of higher resolutions, yeah, go for it. It's for the better of everyone.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, the only difference I was going to say when talking about don't use it would be the fact that Facebook, like, you actually opt in to start using it, while Google Earth and Google Street View, it's just like, yeah, you don't have a choice in the matter.
That's a good point.
Well, this kind of goes hand in hand with the whole opt-out thing that the UK just passed, or is it the whole EU? I think it's the whole EU.
No, for the
right to be forgotten.
Oh, the right. Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about the porn filter. And
oh no, that's failing. But
I could talk about that. I had that on me when I was in the UK.
Actually, well, let's go into this.
It was rolling out, so like my mobile provider for my mobile data had it,
Mm-hmm.
and my like Thank God my desktop did not.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you went pretty much without checking it, or
No,
How
it,
rough
like
was
it kicked on like halfway through my time there, but it was super. It was super like very bad at blocking things.
super very?
Like it got better slowly. Like I was able to watch it develop. But like, are you guys familiar with the chive? Like it's just like
Yeah.
an image board, and they sometimes post pictures of girls in bikinis. Like there's no boobs even allowed on the site. That was blocked by my porn filter. However, and like Reddit, like r sex, which is like a sex discussion thing, which I guess that could be considered not safe for work, but it's all text, like no pictures allowed. That was blocked, but all of the porn, just like anything, like all of it was. If it doesn't immediately have porn or sex in the title, it was okay.
So like Reddit, watch it for the plot.
Watch for the plot. Gone Wild was accessible.
The actual porn. Well, I think there's only one subreddit just for porn.
And,
Actually,
like, they did improve it, I think, like as these filters step up. And like the other thing is like they say like I wanted to opt out because I just like morally was opposed to the whole process. But to opt out, I had to take a bill, which I had to pay as you go. So I don't even know what I do with that. Go to a store and tell a person, yes, I'd like to have the porn, please.
yeah.
So
Which is like
weird.
the reason why that's such a bad idea, because like I didn't want to do that, and I would look a guy straight in the face like, yeah, I jacked it today.
Jesus.
And, like it's got to be like such a big like.
well,
All right, we're quickly.
So, hold on.
Our rating is going downhill fast.
hold on. I just want to end this because I actually read an article on this like last week that was saying the adoption rates for this new program are literally in the single digits for every ISP. So, like the highest adoption rate, I think, the highest adoption rate for the newly introduced ones was like 9% or something. So very low. There was an ISP that apparently rolled it out before it was mandatory, and that adoption rate has gone up to 30% or around. So it's not like it's definitely not really. Obviously, people want their adult content. Let's say. So
That's weird.
that's kind of goofy.
But it's also just really strong examples of legislation passed by people who don't understand technology.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
What can you do? All right. I don't know. That's pretty much all the news topics I had. Have you played one thing? Kind of the quicker topics, real quick. Random question: would you ever buy hardware used from eBay? That's a random quick topic.
Depends how cheap it is. If somebody's selling a processor for $10, like you have to kind of like weigh your probabilities there. Like there's probably like a 1% chance that that's working, but it's like a 1% chance of me basically saving $190. So
Okay.
I don't know. I might
Pretty
go
true.
on. But yeah, like if somebody's selling a processor for $150 on eBay, it's definitely cooked.
Because I mean, when I bought my 670, like I made sure it was new, and even then, I'm like, I don't know if I want to trust this. So I bit the bullet. I mean, it works fine. Because I mean, the video cards I think are like one of the big things. I don't know if I could trust buying used. Mainly
considering
because
that-
things like Bitcoining.
Well,
Like
my
you-
fucking experience with having trouble getting working parts from the fucking manufacturer,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'll feel about even like putting any more limits on that. Because this tech that we deal with, like it can be pretty hard, but some of it's just so delicate and so fragile, and also just so like, what could somebody be selling on eBay? Like it just ages so fast. Like somebody be selling like a year-old card on eBay, unless it's a really great deal, it's probably just worth it for me to get.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. As a hopeful seller of two GTX 680s, someone PM me please, Tom on eBay.
Actually, Tom,
No.
remind me later. We'll see if I have no idea how much money my brother has, but his graphics card's pretty much crap. He might be interested in getting one of those.
Well, here's the thing. The only way I would upgrade to a new generation would be as if I could sell these 680s, because I use the trickle-down computer theory for a lot. You know, that's how I've built all of my other computers and how I give it
Trickle-down computer theory?
Yeah, well, as I upgrade, I sell my parts or repurpose them and regain some of my investment.
Oh, okay.
But that's like the only way I would be able to do it. But I'm not going to just sit on two 680s in a Linux computer that I use for fucking nothing.
Well, just start mining some Bitcoin, and they'll pay for themselves.
I Dude, I did, but now I actually pay for electricity now that I moved off campus. So
That was
has
the
quickly
one thing I had.
outlived its.
My bit mining computer was just plugged in and on my school's network and using my school's like electricity for basically 2 straight years.
Yeah,
Now
dude.
it's like, well, that's not worth
What do you
it
think
anymore.
I've been doing for the past 3 years?
Once every like 2 days, I joke with because I have access to Blue Waters, which is like the supercomputer here on campus, which is like it's the biggest supercomputer on a university campus, and I don't actually even like run any jobs on it yet. But every like 2 weeks, I ask my boss, like, hey, can I mine some Bitcoin on there? He's like, no, I would be super fired, and you would be super expelled.
I'm super fired.
What if it was just a he said Bitcoin. What if you do like the Dogecoin? Why don't we
What if
go-
I do Dogecoin?
Yeah, why don't try that for a little bit, see if that works any better.
One of my buddies, I think you guys might have met Dario. He got in on Dogecoin like right when it started for some fucking reason. Which why? Like why?
Well,
You see,
that's
it's
when
like
you
yes,
gotta
this
do
looks
it.
like a good idea.
Dude, when
He has,
Bitcoin
like-
first got started, it was like $1 a coin. That's why.
Well, like Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's one thing because like Bitcoin's like the serious, like legitimate one. But somebody's like, oh, so it's like Bitcoin but with the Doge meme.
Well, I guess
Okay.
that's. Yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, he's got like $1,000 in Dogecoin, or he did, because he started mining so early.
No, that's the way to do it.
I have the
Yeah.
Dogecoin subreddit
Get
up right now.
unprofitable.
They funded a NASCAR driver, so that was kind of cool, I guess. I mean,
Well,
But
the only NASCAR
they
watch
just have
I
a really
ever
great
was-
community, the Doge people,
Yeah.
Dogecoin people. I don't know if a great community is what allows you to get a digital currency off the ground, but
I mean, maybe they just won't be stealing from each other, so it's got that going.
well, yeah, we have
the internet, everyone's going to steal from
It's
you.
like when you have all these cryptocurrencies, like, can you like convert them to other ones? Like, is that how that? How does
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I have
can.
no
There's an
idea
exchange
how
rate.
any of
Cash.
this works.
We should write that down as a future topic, Nick, because
Okay.
we could do an hour-long talk about it. See, the thing
Oh.
about cryptocurrencies, which is their major problem, is nobody except maybe the guy that made Bitcoin, anyone who understands how the software works, does not understand the economics, and vice versa.
I do. I'm a business and CS major.
Whoa, wait, I thought you were philosophy.
No, I just take a shitload of philosophy courses.
Gotcha. Well, maybe you do, because it's like
I'll
kind of
single-handedly
understand
change the
economics,
world.
But yeah, it's like it's super.
Timecoin.
Here's the thing, Nick. You once asked me what gives, and I've been asked this by multiple people actually. What gives Bitcoin value?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, you're banking on the value that it will have value to other people. And then when I told this to my mother and sister, they were like, well, that seems stupid. I'm like, open your
that's
wallet
how
right
money
now and
works.
take out your paper money that hasn't been on the gold standard for years. That's what you're betting on. Now, granted,
thing-
that's backed by a whole government, but
Well, the thing with Bitcoin, which is part of its appeal, but I think will probably be its downfall, is it's not backed by any government. But that's part of the thing with currencies is that they could be controlled, is you could like tighten them up or like print more or print
well,
less.
Bitcoin will run out, and
Well,
it's well, all right. So
but,
not
yeah,
to
but you
get
can't like
too.
constrain
well, alright.
it. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, all right, yeah. So not to get too deep into this just yet, but Bitcoin has a difficulty curve that prevents it from having too many on the market.
Mhm.
As new ones are created, it gets successively harder to create more new ones. So it'll eventually just get harder, and then eventually taper off and then run out, in a set amount of time. So there is a finite number of Bitcoins that can be mined.
So is there
So-
what is the reasoning behind, say, Newegg, which is now accepting Bitcoin, like for a corporation to actually have Bitcoin? Like that seems weird to me.
Well, they
It's-
want to. I guess
yeah.
they see money. They see dollar signs with it. Because I mean, if they own Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin increases, like they make money.
That's the thing. I mean, it's like I said, you're banking on the currency having value to other people, and if enough corporations get behind it, you're giving it value. So
Yeah, well, like they're Newegg throwing their weight behind it definitely gives it like stability, and that's probably Bitcoin's biggest problem. Is just it's very volatile.
volatile. Yeah.
Which that's actually to get in on it is not a bad idea because I will I'll wait for. I've been waiting for a crash to get in on it.
Well, two things. Yeah, now that it's actually getting more stability, like it probably will never be back down to $5 a coin.
No, not like that low, but even just like when it's down to like when it like some major company pulls out and everyone like jumps ship for a little bit, because like that's happened like 3 or 4 times, and it bounces back. It's fine, but like people freak out for a couple days, and they sticky the suicide hotline to the top of our Bitcoin. Well, because like there was a period where people were like, "I'm going to take out student loans and buy a bunch of Bitcoin." It's like, why? This is not
well,
1920s.
yeah. It's definitely not like what we're going to be using in the future, and everyone's going to have Bitcoin wallets.
I would be very curious to see how that goes, like down the line, like if it could ever truly replace real currency.
Nice.
A universal currency.
Yeah, I also, Nick, I think you're about to cut in, but I have to skedaddle.
Okay, I was just about to say,
call it a bar.
I think we're about ready to finish up. One thing I want to do at the end of every one of these wonderful podcasts we're going to try and do is have our random subreddit for the day. This one I came across, gave me a lot of laughs. It's Air Horn Remix. Basically, it takes a lot of popular songs and makes the songs out of air horns. It's entertaining. It's stupid, really stupid, but it's entertaining enough.
In case you're busy not working at work.
Yeah, in case you need to find a way to just waste your time. Here you go. All right, everybody. So thanks for watching. If this is something you want to see more of in the future, let us know in the comments, all that kind of stuff. We're probably going to do them anyway. It doesn't regardless because they're kind of fun to do. So everyone, thanks for watching. Again, I'm Nick. I'm sitting along Sean there is right now on the webcam. We also have Tom. Hopefully we might get you a webcam at some point in the future, possibly. We'll see how that goes.
2014.
Yeah, 2014, man. Get with the deal. All right, so everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.